Home, home.
Genius billionaire playboy philanthropist.
Why so serious?
I wish I knew how to quit you.
You talking to me?
Life was like a box of chocolates.
You can't handle the truth.
I see dead people.
Say hello to my little friend.
Here's Johnny.
You're gonna need a bigger boat. I'll be back.
I wanted to show them something that wasn't an illusion. Something that was real. Something that they could see and touch. Life will find a way.
Hey everyone, welcome to Picture This Film Reviews, where we are finishing up our Jurassic World / park kind of, what is it called? Era, trilogy, saga, that whole kind of thing. We are wrapping it up. This is the final epic conclusion for all of those movies, and this is we're going to be reviewing it because we just saw this Friday. It is now Sunday. We've had 2 days to let it kind of simmer, and I think we're going to give you some pretty good reviews. But before we start any of that, we are going to pass it over to Matt, who actually has, and that's Matt, by the way. I'm Kayla, this is Dan. If you're not familiar with us, but anyway, I'm going to pass it over to Matt because he has some interesting reviews, or not reviews, I'm sorry. News. I'm sorry, they rhyme, so I'm kind of like, it's in my head to tell you guys about.
What you guys can't see off screen is our son just walked in and wants her to sharpen a pencil for him. So
no, it's a Capri Sun.
Or open a Capri Sun, sorry.
Sharpen
See, even I'm just looking straight on and like barely registering.
I'm trying to do it while watching the screen, so like I was missing the hole each time.
Sharpen a pencil, open a Capri Sun.
Same basic mechanics.
Same.
Yeah.
It's the news, guys. We haven't done that. I mean, you guys have been watching each and every week because we pre-recorded our Jurassic episodes, but we haven't done this in weeks now, so we're a little rusty, so forgive us. But it's the news. Not going to go into a whole lot. Not a whole lot happened, but quite a few things I felt like we needed to touch on that happened while we were away, even though we were still here every week. So the first thing, the biggest thing I'd say probably, we lost to Ray Liotta. Ray Liotta passed away, sadly. I don't know that they revealed his cause of death, but he was on set. He wasn't on set, but he was in his hotel room or trailer or whatever on set and died there. So thoughts and prayers to the Liotta family and friends. The second thing I wanted to talk about was Joker 2 is happening. We got images of the script and Joaquin Phoenix reading the script. It seems it is 100% a go now. It was more or less already a go, but now there is a script and it is in the works. And then lastly, I think the biggest thing, the only other big thing that I can think of anyway, was Neve Campbell announced that she would not be returning for Scream 6 due to a pay dispute. She said that they did not offer her what she felt she deserved. And my personal opinion on this, being the horror and Scream fan that I am, she's Neve freaking Campbell. Like, she is the franchise. Like, she's her face. You made the whole franchise about her face. Her face is that poster. Like, give her anything she wants. I mean, I'm sure she's not asking for an outrageous amount of money, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. Maybe they'll do a third. Maybe they'll make these new movies like a trilogy, and they'll do a third one and she'll come back. I don't know. But there's petitions and everything for Paramount to give her what she wants and put her in the movie anyway. So we'll see what happens. But it's kind of sad because, you think Scream, you think Neve Campbell, and not anymore. She's the Jamie Lee for Halloween. Of course, Halloween also went on without Jamie Lee for a while. So we'll see.
Okay, well, do we have anything to add to that news? I really don't think so. There's been a lot of stuff, but nothing that's like...
I don't think we've actually talked about like Top Gun hitting the theaters. Have we
Well,
addressed that in any
I
of our-
was actually going to bring that up. That's funny
Oh.
you say that. That was going to be my
Perfect
next little
segue
segue.
then, right?
Yes, it was. If Matt, if you don't have anything to add to the news
Nope.
other than what you added, thank you very much. Then I was going to talk about Top Gun. Obviously, it's released prior to Dominion, and it was the #1 worldwide movie for what, like 3 weeks or something like that. Like it really held its spot. And I'm just gonna put this out there, and I'm sure if you watch this and you're subscribed to us and you're like, don't hate me, please don't comment like whatever on me. I'm not really a huge Tom Cruise fan. I'm not a fan of him in his newer things. I love Tom Cruise in like 80s and the 90s. That's like perfect prime time kind of like Tom Cruise. But again, I've never watched Top Gun, the original. I'm just basing my opinion on his other works, but I don't really watch anything that comes out that's newer from him. But we did go see Top Gun, and with like no reference, no point of reference for me or what have you. That was, sorry, I got distracted. That was a really good film. Wow, I did not mind Tom Cruise at all. The storyline and the action and the pace of it was perfect in what you expect from an action movie. So like if I had to, like, that was one of the best films I think I've seen this year. And I loved Doctor Strange too. So like, I mean, those two movies for me were fantastic. But yeah, I was really pleasantly surprised with Top Gun. It was so good. I mean, I'd probably give it like a 8.5 out of 10, I think, from me. And that's like, you know, just coming out.
I'm right at a 9 with it. I absolutely loved it as well.
Yeah.
I agree with the 9.
It was good. And I know there's like a lot of people who have been looking forward to this because it's been what, over 30 years, what, like 33,
30,
I guess?
I think 36.
89, right? Something like that? Or 86?
Before I was born. So,
oh, okay,
yeah.
okay. So it's been a long time coming. So, I mean, we even saw like an older gentleman that was sitting by us that was watching it. And, you know, I'm sure he remembers seeing it, the original one. But anyway, it was really good. I think that was, for me, one of the surprises of the year, film-wise. But I think we didn't really talk about Doctor Strange. I love Doctor Strange. Matt, unfortunately, didn't see it. We saw it twice. Anyway, it was good. We won't go into all that. We're missing a whole bunch of stuff. But anyway, I wanted to say something about Top Gun. Sorry, guys, I'm hosting and I'm all over the place. So forgive me. And I say that probably every single time I host. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to talk about is stats. Stats for Dominion. It only came out 2 days ago. So, I mean, these stats obviously are going to change as the weeks come. But we're going to refresh you guys, or give you guys a little bit of budget-wise, I guess, director-wise, and all that kind of jazz. So I'm going to hit it over to Dan, who normally does the stats.
Yeah, so as far as kicking this off, I'm talking about surprise of the year here. Storyline: 40 years after the destruction of Isla Nublar, dinosaurs now live and hunt alongside humans all over the world. Fragile Balance will reshape the future and determine once and for all whether human beings are to remain the apex predators on the planet they now share with history's most fearsome creatures in a new era. We are going into a movie with a PG-13 rating for intense sequences of action, some violence, and language. Obviously, when you have dinosaurs, especially ones that are metasauruses, that they like to eat those guys. I'm taking a quote out of the original, Matt. Anyways, and speaking on the movie, release date was June 10th, which is kind of interesting. It's right around the time that the original Jurassic Park came out. What was it, like a day or 2 days?
June the 11th, I believe.
And then also in between where Jurassic World came out. So they're putting them right on the calendar right next to each other. So pretty interesting. Some people have also called this Jurassic World 3. We talked, I think, in one of our previous episodes about spiritual successors, so we'll get into that at some point, like Jurassic Park 3. But as far as the budget for this movie, came in around 165 million. I believe one of the big reasons why that went up to that amount was there are a lot of safety concerns with the ongoing coronavirus pandemic, and hotels had to be rented out, and there were I don't know, 30,000 coronavirus kits that were taken in, and 185 like hand sanitizer stations. So a lot of safety put into the making of this movie, making sure that the cast and crew were safe. This came in the longest of the franchise, 2 hours and 26 minutes for the runtime. Which, Matt, where does that put it for your comfort meter?
That was an extremely that was quite a movie. Let me tell you, it was. It's well past the you might need to take a bathroom break point, and right on, like, you're like, okay, I'm gonna pee my pants, like this needs to come on with it. And it was too long, but I'll get into that later.
Gotcha. So as far as the most updated numbers that I have on this, gross US and Canada, and I believe it's well above this at this point, was at 59,550,000. Gross worldwide, 115,273,000. So I've already past the budget. I actually think that they had projected worldwide this would be hitting around 320 million outside the weekend, which is about 16% over forecast. So they're well above where they ought to be. They're higher than where they were for Fallen Kingdom on its release, a little lower than where they were on Jurassic World on its release. So just interesting to see. And as far as our ratings, sorry guys. As far as our ratings here, we have a 30% on Rotten Tomatoes. We had talked prior to this that this was the lowest rating for any Jurassic movie to date, including Jurassic Park 3.
I want to say something too, real quick, and cut you off. I'm sorry. On Friday, I think it was either at a 38 or a 36%. So that's gone down quite an amount from Friday to Sunday. Sorry, I just wanted to.
Critics hating on this movie, definitely. We have a 6 out of 10 on IMDb, 3 out of 5 on Common Sense, and 85% of viewers for Google who saw this movie enjoyed this.
How many? 85?
85%. That's what I got for stats. So I'm going to kick the stats from stats back over to Kayla.
Okay. Thank you, Dan, for the stats. Like I was saying, that's dropped a pretty significant amount, which I'm sure we'll talk about. But anyway, I wanted to say this too. This is like spoilers, you guys. If you are watching up to this point, I forgot to say something. We will be talking about this in depth. We will be going over things that happen in the movie. So if at this point you do not want to see any of that, you do not want to hear any of that, you can mute this and play through the video, or close your eyes. Yeah, do that whole little, but no, you probably want to step away from this video because we will be going all into that, and it will, we're not holding back at this point. So just to let you guys know, it is spoilers ahead. I guess since I am hosting, does that mean I'm going first? Dang, you guys, I'm so sorry you have to listen to me talk some more, but let me get comfy because I'm probably going to be in the seat for a little while. All right, let's see. Okay, so I'm not going to talk about the whole spiritual successor part because that's really like Dan and Matt's kind of thing. So I won't get too much into that. So I'll start it off with like how I felt going into this. Obviously, we have done this trilogy, the whole trilogy of the Jurassic Park, and now we're getting through the trilogy part of Jurassic World. So of course, when you watch all of those movies consecutively, you're building up that relationship with those movies, and you're learning to love them and hate them with each of their own little quirky things, or things that are just plain dumb, or things that are just freaking awesome. So going into this, I had a lot of hopes. You have certain expectations, especially going from World to Fallen Kingdom, which I don't know if I said this in the Fallen Kingdom video. The first half of Fallen Kingdom is fantastic. It's a fantastic film. You leave the island and it's a crappy film. And that's exactly how 2 goes as well. They leave the island and then you're like, what the F? And I'm talking about Jurassic Park 2, or Lost World, I'm sorry. So, there's a lot of expectations and hopes that, it'll fall in a different direction, because if it was going in the Jurassic Park 3 direction, that's a big uh-oh. But you didn't know what to expect. I mean, you think that Alan Grant or Ian Malcolm are going to die in this. They're bringing back the trio, so you're like, oh my gosh, something big, something awful is going to happen. How are they going to have an epic conclusion to such a huge franchise? And how are they going to bring that without it being dumb or being cringy or being over the top to the point where it's cheesy? And for me, that's exactly what it was. This was complete nonsense from the beginning. Sitting in the theater and thinking, Owen is now a dinosaur cowboy, and he is wrangling these huge dinosaurs who were probably, I don't know, a couple tons, and he ropes it, and then he pulls the rope around the thing. To me, that was the first little, note in my book, and I was like, this is unbelievable. I was like, first of all, I don't know, like those are points where I'm just thinking they're just trying to do something for a character to build up his, his toughness, his whatever, make him into, add another quality to this character, or skill set, what have you. So that was the first thing. My second issue, which, man, I'm probably gonna have 100 issues with this thing if I go through the whole movie. So my second issue is Maisie's character. I'm not really convinced. I thought in the second movie she wasn't bad, but in this movie her acting to me was just, it was not on par to, say, Bryce Dallas Howard, who is a fantastic actress. And just seeing the banter between the three of them as them co-parenting this girl, saying they're like, she's their daughter, blah, blah. I was not convinced by that. I actually didn't like that storyline at all. I didn't think it fit any of their characters. And also too, you have Bryce Dallas Howard's, whatever her name is, character. What is her name in the movie? Claire, that's what it is. So you have Claire in Jurassic World. Oh my gosh, I'm gonna talk for so long.
Just focus.
Okay, yeah,
It's okay.
so I get distracted easily.
Give it all to him. Say it all.
So you have Claire in Jurassic World 1, whatever, who is this uptight park director who, has her mind focused on one thing, and that is the success of the park. And it's all like monetary wise. It's not for the safety of the park. It's for the goal of them to be profitable. Okay. So then you have Claire in number 2, who has witnessed this whole traumatic event, blah, 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 who's now a dinosaur advocate. She's an activist. She wants to save these dinos. They add a little bit of like edge to her character. And then you have number 3. She's like this, still like doing this crazy stuff, but is like a mom. I didn't like that character arc. That was crappy. You did like, why did it have to come to that? I just didn't like that. It wasn't needed. You could have made her a badass too, just like Owen, and leave out the dumb part. So I wasn't really too pleased with that. And that's just them on that little ranch thing. And I want to say this too, because I was like thinking about it a lot of the weekend. I'm talking to Dan. He's hearing a whole earful in the car ride because he was driving. So I just wouldn't shut up. Number 3, Jurassic Park 3, we had talked about how the visual effects and the graphics weren't up to par for what is expected in these kind of films, considering number 1 was so amazing. And it felt more like a sci-fi movie. It felt kind of cheapened, like a TV movie. And there were some parts where I just couldn't believe that they thought the visual effects were convincing enough. Are you gonna stop me?
Gotta just make a point here. Colin Trevorrow, the director, which I don't think I even talked about my stats. So again, guys, sorry for letting you guys down here, but he had made a statement that they actually created more animatronics, puppets, and whatever for this movie than any of the other Jurassic movies before. So as Kayla's talking about the effects, just keep that in mind. It's very interesting to me that they're saying they try to stay away from CGI, but I know she's gonna make a couple points here, but just interesting that, you know, we went back more towards the Steven Spielberg approach than CGI.
Well, okay, so yeah, so if you're saying they did more animatronics than they did puppets, okay, the part with Ellie where she's touching that little, I don't know if it's a baby triceratops, like again, like it's like ugly, it's like a bug dinosaur thing, it's like ugly. Anyway, I was like, okay, that probably is an animatronic, right? I'm trying to think like what else would have been an animatronic that they could have passed off, because like everything else looked CGI. Like you can tell what is a puppet. You can tell what is an animatronic versus a CGI. When I'm talking about the CGI, I'm talking about Beta, that whole, any sequence she was in, I was just like not convinced, especially when they had her running away in the forest. I was like, dude, this does not look up to par like what a Jurassic film should be. Okay, what else? I'm trying to think. Like, terrible actress. The girl's a terrible actress. It was terrible. And I don't think she's been in anything since then. So it's like, I don't know if this is like her only gig and like she's just like holding on to this. I'm so sorry if you're watching this. I don't know if you are, but I'm sorry. No, I'm talking to the actress girl. Sorry, I don't know your real name, but sorry. Anyway, oh my God. So then I don't know, like I feel like I want you guys to come back to me because there's just okay, I will just, I'm sure I'll add in later, but I'm going to try to like zoom in or like go to the part where like, okay, I don't even know. See, it's so overwhelming.
I mean, that's fine if you want to give us your rating and then we can always.
Okay, yeah, go back. Okay, so for me, and I want to rate because we all rated the movies, like all of them together. So I want to say what my rating was. Okay, as far as the films. Okay, so Jurassic Park obviously was #1 out of this entire series. Jurassic World was #2 for me. Lost World was #3. Fallen Kingdom was #4. Jurassic Park 3 was #5. And unfortunately, Dominion falls at #6 for me. I think this was easily the worst movie in this franchise because they're sticking to these wild, crazy scenarios, dinosaurs that quite frankly, you would not escape or survive from. It's completely unrealistic. They've gone too far off the deep end. And for me, it was just too wild of a ride that honestly didn't make sense. It was not cohesive. It was like 3 different films in a movie. And it was like it lost its footing right in the beginning for me. And there was banter between Ian Malcolm, and of course, here we go, Ian Malcolm and Ellie in the Biosins thing. And I'm like, dude, am I even watching a film or am I just like watching them catch up and just like chat? Because this is not like progression in the story. This is just like, oh, well, I don't know. It was just dumb. This gets a 3 out of 10 for me. I dislike this movie so much that we want to take our kids to it. And I don't know if I can sit through another 2 hours and 26 minutes because it was that awful. I feel like when you try too hard, you did too much. And you went to the extent that, unfortunately, this was the worst wrap-up conclusion to a film series I've ever seen. Yeah, I'm sure we'll go back because Matt and Dan are probably going to touch up on other stuff, and I want to throw stuff in that I'll think about. But you know, I could probably talk about this and ramble on for another hour because of how terrible it was. But when you have such a successful franchise as this and such a huge, you know, nostalgic factor, what have you, things that kids and adults these days resonate with and carry in their heart, you didn't do justice. You didn't. It was terrible. I don't know who's going to go next, but you guys are more than welcome to take the play.
Is it all right if I go next, Matt?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
I appreciate that, man. Oh, thanks. Ooh, I get to move into the camera a little bit. All right. So talking about this movie, Jurassic World Dominion had a huge order to fill. And by that, I mean, we're talking about decades of films. We have massive talent with additions of Jeff Goldblum, Sam Neill, Laura Dern, also with Chris Pratt. I'm sorry, Bryce Dallas Howard, and also the actress who plays Maisie. I'm sorry, I don't know that off the top of my head, but and a lot of storylines. We had BD Wong come back. He was Dr. Wu, which we're going to talk about a little bit too. But I mean, there was so much to try to incorporate from the original 3 movies of the franchise and the latest 2 movies of the franchise, and they tried to put a bow on it, wrap it, package it, sell it. And I don't know. I think I told Kayla, I may have told Matt after we watched this. I felt that it might not have been quite a third, but the first third of the movie was kind of unnecessary to me. I felt like it was very reminiscent of like a Mission Impossible, James Bond. I think that's actually what a lot of like the news outlets were trying to say about this when the critics first broke. It's like, wow, we really went a different direction with this. You built up Chris Pratt as this huge action star, and it's a franchise I don't necessarily think needed it to be to that extent. I mean, we had folks in the original movies like Grant and Malcolm and Laura Dern that were just paleontologists or chaos theorists that were brought in. And yes, in the second movie, we did make Ian Malcolm into like a more of an action star type, but not to this extent. I mean, we weren't hopping on motorcycles, riding away from Atrociraptors, which
was it even a motorcycle? It was like a dirt bike. Can dirt bikes go that fast?
I'm sure. But as far as that particular scene, I think they tried to bring it. It's almost in contrast to the one in Jurassic World where he's riding through the jungle with the velociraptors on all sides of him. But one big difference this time, he's been targeted with a laser pinpointed, and it's just I know they tried to show how dinosaurs were being like how they were adjusting to being in the real world with people, and how sometimes they wander into cities and things like that. From what I understand, they originally wrote that to be at the end of Fallen Kingdom, but decided not to add that there, which I almost feel like could have been put at the end of Fallen Kingdom and may have made better sense than putting it in this movie, just because it would have flowed better. But ultimately, I'm not sure how much ahead looking they were for this particular film. But again, my biggest gripe with all like the latest 3 movies was not the original. Jurassic World I thought was awesome, but when we got into Fallen Kingdom, we then added the whole thing with the clone child, and then we made her the key to solving a genetically engineered pandemic with these locusts that has some prehistoric gene that were added into them, and we have to get her in order to control the locust swarm because now it's getting out of control and they're multiplying so fast and they're living so long. And it just is like, okay, we now have taken this from a Jurassic movie about the dinosaurs and then have added some distinct elements about these other creatures, which I'll give Jurassic World Dominion props in this area. They stayed away from genetically modified dinosaurs like what we saw in the first 2 franchises. The Therazinosaurus was a real dinosaur. The Giganotosaurus was a real dinosaur. We did see the Dilophosaurus again, which was the one that Dodgson meets his doom with. And I'm kind of like Kayla, there's so much going on in this movie that it kind of gets your mind all over the place. Let's talk about that too. Dodgson, we saw him in the Jurassic Park movie. It was not the same actor. That actor has been brought up on some sexual abuse allegations or some other things, so he's in jail. So he obviously is not going to return to the franchise. But we did cast this guy, which honestly, I
believe they got Steve Jobs to play Dodgson.
Yeah, well, not even Steve Jobs. Kayla and I were talking about this, more like Tim Cook.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
His personality, like almost exactly, and it's just kind of crazy. And you see that original, the shaving cream can, and Matt and I talked about this. Do we think it's the same can? Do we not? I feel like it almost has to be just for the nostalgic purposes. I mean, for crap's sake, we also see the original Tyrannosaurus, which has been lovingly nicknamed Rexy. There's just a lot of things going on here, and it's just funny how his character ends his death in parallel with Dennis Nedry. Like, both of them go the same way. They're first encountered with the Dilophosaurus. They both get sprayed. He goes back into his little escape pod where Dennis had tried to get back into his car, and then ultimately we don't need to see the scene to know what happened. I think it would have been kind of cool to see like the thing rocking back and forth, and I've been like, yes, that's what happened. I'm sorry, you had a point?
I was just going to say, and I totally forgot about that because, like you said, there's so much. That was the best part of the film. And we had talked about, why had they not brought these creepy little things back? They're so damn creepy. And that was perfect. That was a perfect way to end a little villain in the film.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
But and especially that way with that storyline, how that played out. But a couple things. I agree with Kayla. I think that the biggest draw to a lot of these films, something we fell in love with and that really felt like painful, was the absence of a park. But then when we took it back to the Biosyn compound or the complex they had built, I almost felt like that's where the film really started to get better, for me at least. So forgetting that and seeing where the dinosaurs are being put back into this preserve and they're all underground, they have the facilities, whatever. Because it's almost like in every film, they have to establish that humans are in control, right? And I think it's kind of a drawback to this, that humans are the apex predator, and where they're free and there are no borders and they're around humans and you're seeing them, walking around with elephants and running herds with horses, like you don't really have that control factor, and it's kind of like unexpected. But you get to the island, we have, I don't know, defenses in the airs that keep the pterodactyls from flying over restricted airspace, and if you turn it off, they apparently attack planes and everything else. It's like, I don't know, but as far as the dinosaurs, there's some welcome additions. Some are kind of weird. I agree. Kayla and I were talking about this. The Therazinosaurus was a very weird Edward scissor hands type dinosaur. It's not genetically modified. It was an actual thing that existed. How freaking scary is that? I believe it's from like Asia. Which again, all of us moving around in our time. But and then the flaw in this, they named the Giganotosaurus as the largest carnivorous dinosaur to have ever walked the land. We've already seen that in another film. The actual true one that was bigger and actually would be much taller than the T-Rex and the Giganotosaurus. The Spinosaurus was the largest land predator to have ever existed. And I feel like they strayed away from that.
I have to put in there I have to add some, or like ask a question because I don't know. Did those two dinosaurs exist at the same time, or were they from different eras of the Jurassic period?
They were from different eras. So the whole thing with this is like, and it's an inconsistency a lot of like scientists, paleontologists, everything we'll get into, and I'm not going to delve into that because I just want to look at what it is. Like, this movie's it's entitled Jurassic Park, right. And there is a Jurassic period, but there's also Cretaceous and all these other periods. Dinosaurs live for millions of years. There's some on some end, some on the other end, equally scary both ends, some not even impressive on either end. Like, it's just one of those things. But again, I feel like I'm getting like Kayla. I'm kind of straying away from where my mindset is going with all this. My biggest things, I'm glad to see the original cast. I'm personally thinking it was a missed opportunity to kill off one. I know it's a terrible thing to say, but I feel like there could have been a sacrifice at some end that would have really, like, especially for the older fans like us who watched this in childhood, just been like, wow, it's amazing they took a stand. Is this the movie we want them to die in? I don't know. That's your personal opinion. Probably not here, unfortunately, but it would have made sense. I like that they brought Dodgson. The whole thing with Dr. Wu was really weird, that he was like full villain in the second movie after being a scientist in the first movie, being totally obscure in the first franchise, the trilogy, to being like, oh, I'm so sorry and I want to make things right and da whatever the cost. Just a very weird story arc for him. I would have liked to have seen something similar that happened to Dodgson happen to him, and not made him like the key to saving, the whole planet.
Oh my
But
God.
okay, whatever. But as far as that goes, we did see at the end, major spoiler, that Alan Grant and Ali Sadler did end up, at least kissing towards the end. So after the third movie where we completely took their relationship and cut the head off of it, and she had kids with somebody else, it's interesting to get back to that. And it was a nice thing to see. But my all-time favorite part of this movie, and it's really painful to say to me because I'm a huge fan of Sam Neill, is that Jeff Goldblum stole the freaking show with this. I thought his acting was like perfect. I thought that everything that he was involved in this movie was spot on. I could have watched a movie with just Jeff Goldblum in it and been so excited. Just the way he carried himself and this particular movie, awesome job. But yeah, overall, my rating was a little different than Kayla's. Again, I'm not going to hold you up too much longer. There's a lot to talk about, but I was at Park as number 1, Jurassic World is number 2, Lost World number 3. I actually put Dominion as my number 4, Fallen Kingdom as my number 5, Jurassic Park as my dead last number 6. And overall, I'd probably give this guy, I'm going to be a little lighter on this than Kayla was. I think maybe like a 6.5 in total. It was a dinosaur movie. It definitely had a lot of flaws, but in the end, I can appreciate it as part of the franchise and better than some of the others I've seen. So that's where I'm at.
Wow. First of all, I apologize if you hear music coming from the back. There's loud music playing on the other side of me, so I apologize. Wow, I was not expecting that high of a rating. Okay, so let's talk about 00 Jurassic and the Furious, shall we? I thought the ending of the last film with the dinosaurs living with humans was genuinely an exciting idea or lead into the next sequel. But this movie, Dominion, didn't really seem to care about that much to me. I have notes, I'm looking down, I'm sorry. It instead almost ignores it altogether and gives us the same basic story, some evil scientist in a lab playing God. How original, right? It's if the writers, I'm kind of reading here, it's if the writers just gave up on getting out of the corner that they wrote themselves in from the last movie and just gave us the most generic Hollywood narrative possible. So the first half of this movie, absolute garbage. Yeah, just no, it was not good. Like Kayla said, with Owen being the cowboy wrangling up the dinosaurs, like what was that? What? Why?
Think too, man. His like special power, right, to put his hand up and be like Colin Trevorrow was going to be the director for Star Wars 9, dropped out because of creative differences. I feel like he's trying to get him to use the Force on the dinosaur.
Yeah, and that was a whole other thing I didn't like. Like why? Like in the first World movie, and even he did a little bit in Fallen Kingdom, but this thing didn't bother me. And
well, it made sense because he was training the Velociraptors, and
right.
now it's like
he's doing it to everything now.
He just walks up to them, and they're like, the horse whispered. Like,
yeah, the Dino Whisperer. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, like the freaking T-Rex coming up to him. He's like, "Whoa, now." Yeah. like, come on. Like, it just doesn't make sense. Without the original cast, this movie would have been a complete dumpster fire. With the original cast, it's only half of one. But they save it. They make it worth watching at least. It was great seeing Ellie and Grant and Malcolm back together again. As Dan said already, Jeff Goldblum stole the show. His one-liners are here and in full effect. Most of them work. I feel like this is the Malcolm of the original movie, as opposed to the Malcolm of The Lost World, where he was just a badass action star. This is the nerdy, full-on Goldblum-y Malcolm. Dr. Wu, looked physically ill to me this entire movie, and I don't get why. Like, I know they were filming during COVID, and he looked very pale and like was in like this blanket type thing, like sweater thing, and it didn't make sense. He just looked like he was sick the entire movie. So that was something I noted because I didn't like that. The Dilophosaurus, it was great to see come back. We haven't seen it since the first movie. And but one thing I did not like, and the three of us talked about it through the text messages, was that it was about to eat or attack Claire, right? And all of a sudden Superman, or I mean Owen, comes in and just grabs it by the neck. And what I originally thought was strangling it, it was actually, I think Dan or whoever said it was actually right, because I've seen this movie twice now. I guess I should have started with that. We all went and saw it the first time on Friday, and then I went on Saturday the next day and watched it again, which I'll talk about the difference in the audiences too here in a little bit. But the second time I was able to actually see what was going on, and you guys, whichever one said it, hit it correctly, that he was actually preventing the black acidy poison spit from coming out of its mouth. And it worked, because when he grabbed it, you could see the black ooze coming out of its mouth, but it was just so fake to me. Like who's going to grab a dinosaur by its neck and like just start like holding it there so it can't open its mouth, and then the other girl's like pulling on its wing or something, and just like, what? Anyway.
Oh, we haven't even talked about her, Kayla.
Yeah. I don't have any notes on her really. I didn't mind her. I thought she was okay. I could see if they were to take this and do spinoffs, which God, I hope they don't, but if they were to take this and do spinoffs, I could see her being a spinoff character that they would want to be a lead character. She had that kind of star power. And I don't know her name. I apologize. We don't come into this show prepared. we just wing it. But she was okay. I did not hate her. What am I saying here? Okay, so the clone child, remember, that was a clone that we didn't like in Fallen Kingdom? She's not a clone. No, not at all. She's just a baby that was born without being conceived. It was she just is there. People having and creating babies on their own, to me, was almost like a I don't know. I just didn't like it. It was explained that the girl's mother, who we thought she was a clone of in Fallen Kingdom, was actually her biological mother, and she had a gene in her that she could produce a child without having a man, without having, you know what I'm trying to say. She could do it without the old-fashioned way. She could just have it herself. She's Mary, and she's giving birth to baby Jesus, essentially. And I did not like that at all. I would have almost rather her just stay a clone. I already kind of threw in, I thought the villain here, Dodson, was just basically Steve Jobs. But I do think that it was fitting that he saw the same end as his friend Dennis from the original. There were some really great moments, a lot of the Malcolm one-liners, the T-Rex waking back up after being down and you thinking that it's dead, but then finishing off the Giganotosaurus. That's a mouthful. I think that's the first time I've said that out loud. Albeit anticlimactic, the moment he got back up and stood behind the other dinosaur waiting to attack, it gave me goosebumps. But are you pausing me? What are you saying?
No, kind of like the logo, trying to make that sign.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that was in that, yeah.
So I feel like anyway, spiritual successors. No one talked about spiritual successors. I was waiting for somebody. Dan, you first said it. I think unfortunately it's true. I think you have the first three, World, Lost World, and number 3. and then you have, or not Park, Lost World #3, sorry. And then World is the spiritual successor to Jurassic Park. They were both magical. They were both fantastic. They're both amazing films. You have The Lost World, which is a very decent sequel, and you can compare that to Fallen Kingdom, which Fallen Kingdom has its problems, but it could be argued so does The Lost World. I'm just biased because one of my favorite movies growing up, but it's there, right? 3 is not a good movie. It's a cheesy made-for-TV movie, and this, while it didn't feel like a made-for-TV movie necessarily, it's very cheesy. It is the spiritual successor for Jurassic Park 3. But in some ways, I almost prefer Jurassic Park 3 because at least it had a plot that I understood. This felt all over the place, and I still don't even fully understand what they're trying to accomplish with the plot. There was a part where I did tear up. I thought they were going to go for it. I thought Malcolm was going to die. Call back to the original. He lights the flare, or it wasn't a flare. I guess it was a burning torch. Thank you. And starts, hey, and from when he was saving Tim and Lex in the original, he's about to save the entire group. And I thought, because we saw in the trailer, there's this moment with Ellie and Owen standing next to each other, and she's screaming, no, 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 no. I thought, oh my God, this is it. Because we knew Owen wasn't going to die. So we knew it was either going to be Grant or Malcolm that gets it, right? And when he did that, well, first, when they're all running from the Giganotosaurus, and they all go one way, but Malcolm, for whatever reason, decides to go under the car. I was like, what are you doing, dude? Like, why don't you follow them? Why are you the only one going under the car, going in a different direction? And then I was like, okay, they're setting up his death right here. And then he lights the torch, and the dinosaur starts coming after him. And I'm like, oh, this is it. And I started to tear up. I was like, I'm going to start crying. They're going to do it to me. And instead, he throws the torch in the mouth of the dinosaur, spot on, perfect aim.
Lights.
Dude should be a basketball player. He's got the height and the aim, evidently. And it becomes almost like a fire-breathing dragon. So now it's like spitting fire out of his mouth, and he's able to get away. And the scene with Ellie screaming never happened. So it was either shot just for the trailer, or maybe there was an alternate scene that was deleted, or maybe they changed, and I don't know what happened, but that scene with her yelling at somebody never happened in the movie. I didn't feel like this was an epic conclusion as it was billed. It didn't feel like an end at all. And I don't mean that in a way that I want more so it can have an end, because I don't. This needs to be it. But I mean, they just didn't do a good job telling the story and having the audience feel that this is it. You could tell that the original cast was having fun. I did like that. I felt all 3 of those guys were having a blast, and I liked that. I saw a lot of people online saying that Laura Dern was phoning it in. I didn't get that sense. I thought that she was there with the other 2. Obviously, Kayla,
Not the biggest Laura Dern fan.
I'm not a big Laura Dern fan either, but I like her in Jurassic Park, and I felt like this Laura Dern was the same character from the first movie. Let's see, I'm almost done here. Without spoiling anything, the ending was completely baffling. It doesn't feel like anything really progressed or was accomplished by the end of this movie.
Yeah.
We didn't do any, like, what was the point? What was the point of this movie? We got rid of locusts. That was the point of the movie. The point of the movie was we got rid of locusts. Dinosaurs still living with the people. Like, nothing happened.
You've ended this movie like we've seen like 2-3 other times, where the island that they are now being moved to is closed off and protected.
Right.
Which obviously has worked so well, all the other times.
Right. And it I don't know. I'm at a loss for words for this movie. It probably comes off that I'm being very negative, and it should come off that way because I am. But I still had fun with it. As I mentioned, I went and saw this twice. And it was very entertaining. I actually was able to find some entertainment in it more the second time than the first time, because I think the first time I was like expecting this big epic conclusion and waiting for somebody to die and like have all these expectations. And then the second time I was like, I already know what I'm seeing. And so I was able to sit back, relax a little bit, and just watch it for what it is. And it's still a pile of garbage, but it's a sometimes charming pile of garbage. So I went with Dan and Kayla to see it the first time, right? I went with two cousins of mine who were very young, 12 and 13, to see it the second time. Seeing and a packed theater with Dan and Kayla, a lot, and I don't think there were very many kids in that theater.
Like a couple.
And the audience got Malcolm's jokes, so they were laughing. It was just a theater experience, right? Seeing it on Saturday, the very next day, there was hardly anybody in the theater. Maybe because we went during the day, but also maybe because it's getting crapped on. There were a lot more younger people in the theater that did not laugh one bit at some of these jokes that Malcolm was saying. And I was like sitting there chuckling still because I thought they were legit funny and no one else was laughing. And I felt like the oddball. But I will say, when we got out, I asked the two that I was with, what did you think? And they both freaking loved it, which goes back to, this is no longer a movie for us, boys and girls. This is not Dan and Kayla and Matt's movie. I forgot who we were for a second. This is not our movie anymore. This is a children's movie, even with the original trio in it. I think it did that. I think it did what it was supposed to do for the kids. So, because they had a blast, and I think that's, in a way, that's what matters, I guess. So like while we're the old heads, or we're sitting here talking about it and crapping on it, there's kids that love this movie. So somebody did their job somewhere.
I want to say something.
Yeah.
You watched Jurassic Park 3 when you were how old?
It came out when I was 13, I think I said. And
you loved it when you were 13?
Yes.
And now you dislike it.
Now
well, you don't like it as much.
Yeah, not
so I think it's supposed to capture, it's supposed to feel, dinosaurs in our world. Oh my God.
I think the biggest problem with this film is,
sorry, Matt. Sorry.
That it, like we talk again, I'm gonna throw that back out there. Spiritual successor. I'd almost argue it's not of 3. I don't really think it had a spirit. I think it was conflicted. And it had two very different stories. You had the original cast that was following the locust plague, and then you had the second trilogy set that were going after saving their adopted daughter. And it just, if you were going to target the children or the younger audience, it should have not brought back the original cast. If you wanted to target the original, the older folks that really like Jurassic Park, we could have just did a story with the older cast. Because I was almost going to ask you, like, Nat, how possible would this be when when this movie comes out, to just edit out the parts with Owen Grady and Claire and Maisie, and just
you almost could have. You almost could have. The thing about this movie was there were 2 different movies going on at the same time. And then at the tail end, no pun intended with dinosaur tales, but at the tail end, they come together. And okay, it's cool seeing the 2 generations come together. But what did it do for us? Nothing. They got chased by a big dinosaur once, and credits.
And after you said it, I honestly hadn't thought about it up to this point, but we really never, like, other than the scene, like Kayla had mentioned, with the dinosaurs running alongside the horses, and at the end, again, back to what I had said about them walking around with like elephants and all this other, like, little girl petting the one outside of DC, whatever. We never saw the dinosaurs loose and make havoc on the mainland. And I feel like you're right. I feel like that's the one part of all these movies we never really got. We got to see the T-Rex do, a little bit, but that was it. And really, I think maybe that's where this needed to go. And I think you're exactly right. Like I think they were too afraid.
Yes.
And now that I've said it, to stray far from the original formula. And even though I like the fact that it made it feel more like a park, maybe that's what they were going for. It's like, okay, we're going to put it back in a similar element. We're going to give you like all these same characters, and we're going to try to do something that we knew was successful to try to get people back in the theaters. Whereas instead of doing a money grab, we could have took some risks, did something different with the script, and gave us, a Jurassic World, actually. But the one last thing, I'll turn it over. You can say whatever you want. The only one more thing I did not understand is just how the heck we went from having these dinosaurs on Isla Nublar, right, to some of them got taken on a boat, whatever, back to the mainland, auctioned off, having so many freaking dinosaurs on the mainland.
They're breeding them.
Yeah, but it's like 3 years time, I think they say, or 4 years time since what happened. And then we're saying that, they bred so much that we now have them everywhere across the whole continent. Like, I don't know. I feel like, yeah, there would be no predators to go after a lot of these guys, but I don't know.
Can I say one thing? I'm so sorry, Matt. Can I say one thing? Just going off what you said, they were scared to take that risk, because if you make a movie where dinosaurs are in the actual real world, it would be a horror movie, because no one would survive. You would not live. They cannot coexist. And I think that's the whole point. You cannot coexist. It should have been a thing where, it's either dinosaurs or humans. They can't coexist.
You then make that, the Jeff Goldblum movie. You don't have to have a minute, but it would be cool. And you call that Jurassic World Chaos Theory or whatever. And you just have the world just blown apart.
That could have been something that, could have been an option. But like I said, that would not be what they were going for, would be this
You're right.
kids movie aiming for the kid audience. It would be terrorizing. It would be something that it would be scary. So, they're dinosaurs. They're not pets.
I didn't like that you said, brought up that no one would survive. Well, in this movie, everybody survived except for, we saw
a guy.
Main characters, spoilers, everybody lived except for Dodson. He's the only main character of this movie that died. Dr. Wu survived, Grant, Malcolm, Ellie survived, Owen, Claire survived, the Maisie girl survived, the T-Rex survived. Nobody freaking dies in this movie except for random people that you get introduced to maybe for half a second. Even the girl in white, what happened to her? Am I forgetting the girl with the white with the laser? We saw her get arrested.
She got arrested by the CIA guy.
Got arrested, and then she pointed the laser at Owen as he was biking off.
So dumb.
And then we never see her again. It was just dropped. The whole story was just dropped halfway through the movie.
Like you said, they left a lot of loose ends for a possible sequel on this, but more along the lines of the, the dinosaur black market, running dinosaur type.
That's why I feel like this might be the epic conclusion of Jurassic Park, right? But I feel like this is just, there's doors open for spinoffs. We're going to get Jurassic World, whatever, and it's not going to be about Owen or Grant. It's going to be this girl in the white with the laser, or the other character, the pilot that we were talking about, that was a strong character. I think that's what we're going to get. I think we're going to get spinoffs, whether it be Netflix, straight to Netflix streaming movies, because I think Jurassic and Netflix have some sort of thing, or maybe theatrical movies again. I don't know what we're going to get, but I feel like we're definitely getting some sort of spinoff sooner than later. Just to wrap up my review, I guess since everyone else did it, I'll tell you where my ranking was. I just got to find it. Okay, so Jurassic Park, The Lost World, Jurassic Park, Jurassic World, Fallen Kingdom, Dominion, Jurassic Park 3. But those two, Dominion and 3, could flip-flop them either day of the week because I could take or leave either one of them. They're both the worst of the franchise. Magical, gritty, cheesy, fantastic, potential, disappointing. Yeah. The word for this is disappointing. I'm gonna kind of almost be in the middle between Dan and Kayla. I'm giving this a 5 out of 10, which I believe is what I gave Jurassic Park 3, because again, it's right there with it for me. I don't like either one of them.
So got 3 from me, 6.5 from you, 5 from Matt. Sometimes we just throw in a little extra stuff that some of us have missed hearing others talk. I do want to say some things, that I'm thinking about now, because literally there's so much in this. Wu was such a weird character evolution that they tried to redeem, which was like the weirdest redemption. And he's just like walking free in a field with locusts, and he's like, be free, I'm gonna change the world. And it's like, dude, like, we've been through this with you 4 times. And like Jeff Goldblum said, Ian Malcolm said, this guy's done bad things. Like, this is the guy.
It's him every time.
Yeah, every time. It quite literally is. And yeah, I forgot to mention this, which I don't even know how I forgot. Yeah, Ian Malcolm / Jeff Goldblum, because they're virtually the same person, was the best part of this movie. I would have liked to have just seen a movie again with the trio. I would have been cool if it was just them to wrap it up, because then it would have come full circle. And yes, I think a sacrifice would have made this movie better, because then you would be tethered to it.
You'd have something.
Exactly, you'd be tethered to it. It would have a meaning to it. And this movie had absolutely no meaning. They threw every possibility into this and called it a movie. And, considering the amount of time they had for all of this, I just don't understand how this was their best thing that they could have put out. There was a part in the movie, and this was like, I had talked about, Dotson getting his, the ultimate, end of life kind of thing happening to him. But there was another part where you have the trio, and they're standing by that little broken down, whatever, treehouse looking, spaceship looking thing. And the music starts, you hear the theme music from Jurassic Park. And I was like, yes, that should be the still of the movie. That should be exactly what the movie is. And that was fantastic. Yeah, Laura Dern, I wasn't convinced. I think she did better in Jurassic Park 3 than she did in this movie. And she was in that movie for 2 minutes. I never, except besides Jurassic Park, loved her character in there. I'm not really sure she was needed for any other film. Because I don't see anything her character does for me. I don't know. I think there was a lot of potential here. And unfortunately it fell very short of anything. I don't even know. It's to me, it's not worth seeing again. I would hate to spend money to see this again. It would really hurt me. And I'm sad that this is, what it is, because when, this is not what it should be. You should be remembering this movie because it's awesome. And unfortunately they couldn't do it. They couldn't do it. I'm not sure what they thought.
I was telling Kayla, I think it would have made more sense if they had somehow brought the original cast in at the end of Jurassic World, and that would have been it. And that would have been like perfect.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that didn't happen. We kept it running, but with most things, especially Hollywood, if it's making money and it's making a profit and you can sell toys, you're just going to keep going with it until you can't. So
yeah. I don't think I had. Yeah, I had said this a little bit before. They couldn't coexist. There's no way. There's absolutely no way. I don't know. I mean, it kind of sucks because, like Matt was saying, from the second movie, the ending, they lead you up to believe that Dominion, you're going to be brought into this world where they're trying to coexist. You know, you're going to see them try to coexist. You're going to see them, everyday life. And you literally get, I think, like 5 minutes out of the whole film. And they touch on it in the beginning. And that's it. And it's just like dropped. Oh gosh, what was I going to say? It was just like so weird. Like, oh my gosh, there's something I just had on my mind. And I'm like, yes, I want to say that. I don't know. I can't think of it right now. Of course, I freaking forgot it. Okay, does anybody want anything else? Say anything else?
I'm good.
No.
I'll say that it's not all bad, but it's far from being all good. There's the bad outweighs the good, and that if you're a fan of this series, should you watch it? Yes. Will you like it? Probably not. But at least you can say you've seen it, and it is our conclusion. It may not be the conclusion we wanted or deserved, but it's the conclusion we got. So
pretty much.
There's my final words.
All right. Well, thank you all. I'm sure we could probably do a follow-up on this if we ever come back and really simmer in it and think about it 4 or 5 days later. But anyway, yeah, so thank you, everybody. If you're watching this and you made it this far and you wanted all spoilers, I mean, I'm pretty sure you probably got majority of it because everybody lives. But thank you for watching this video. Thank you for watching the other videos. Wow, they like some of them have just, gone like crazy, out of this world crazy. So thank you for watching those. Thank you for subscribing, because that's awesome too. I mean, we've got a slew of new subscribers, so thank you. Welcome. We haven't updated our Instagram recently, but unfortunately we're slacking. Dan's been on vacation. I'm sorry, I've been a little, Anyway, we are on Instagram. Our Instagram handle is @PictureThisFilmReviews. You can also find us on Facebook. It's pretty much linked up to our Instagram. And actually, and I'm not going to forget this time. So this movie runs at 2 hours and 26 minutes.
We already did it.
We did it? Did I miss it?
We did it. Yeah.
Nobody told me?
Yeah, I was during the stats and you were helping Mr. Reese.
Wow, nobody filled me in.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm the
we
host,
did.
you guys. This is how the host gets treated.
Yeah.
So what was the potty verdict?
The potty verdict was it was well past the time you need to take a bathroom break, and you're going to pee your pants. But
it felt like a lifetime.
And the movie was too long. It needed.
Yeah.
That's one thing I didn't mention while I was doing my rambling. It felt like they could have easily shaved 30 minutes off of this, let alone taking it down to 90 minutes like Jurassic Park 3.
Yeah.
Give me the story of as little as dinos would have been in it. Give me the story of the original trio and saving the damn locusts or whatever was going on there. And that could have been the movie. It could have been a 90-minute movie. I'd have been like, okay, not good, but okay. Instead of what we got.
Okay, so it is definitely, just reiterating this, potty break. You've got to take a potty break during this. And you probably won't miss anything that's significant, really, if you're watching in the theater. But anyway, you can also find us on YouTube. So Matt, our YouTube page is?
It is, of course, youtube.com/Studio29Films.
Yes, and if you do like our videos, please check out our other videos. We did a whole slew of videos on Jurassic Park / Jurassic World. We're coming back in either August or September to just do a whole bunch of rambling about other movies that we seem to watch. And we're going to spin a really cool wheel.
I think we've done that in one of the past episodes.
Okay,
right?
we have.
We spun the wheel. We
in the
spun the
wheel.
wheel. So it is this episode that we reveal what we're watching, right?
Shoot. Yeah, I guess it is.
Yes.
So who was our last spinner? Was it Dan?
It was Dan. So Dan gets to announce what we're watching for the season 3 premiere. Season 3, guys.
Yeah, man, super excited. So we had spun superhero movies, and I didn't want to go traditional superhero route. So you guys are going to follow us as we talk about Kick-Ass in our first episode of season 3. So excited to see you guys there, and let's talk about it.
Sweet. Yes, we will see you there. You'll find us on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and we look forward to seeing you guys. You won't hear anything out of us for a little while. We're going to be quiet and take a little summer vacation. This was our wrapping of season 2, and we very much enjoyed it. We watched a lot of good films. It's too bad we don't have like a reflection little period on this. I think we started out this season with, was it Cool Hand Luke? Was that the start of the season?
Yeah.
And that
we've come a long way.
Yes, we really have. That was a long time ago. Oh my God, it feels like a year ago. Anyway,
our year will be coming up in August, our year of doing the show. 3 seasons, but 1 year. So I don't know, we'll be back before or after that 1 year mark, but we've been doing this for a while, guys.
Yeah, we have. And we've watched a lot of good movies. We've watched some duds. But we've had fun, and it's, you know, I will say one thing. This movie you have to see in theaters for the first time. It's a theater experience. It's part of the Jurassic whole period. You've got to see it. But please make your own assessment. Have a great summer. Watch lots of movies. Please recommend some if you want to on our YouTube pages or on the channel, what have you, our YouTube page or Instagram page. But please enjoy yourselves, be safe, have fun, and we will see you in either August or September. Bye.
See you guys.
Be sure to subscribe and click the little bell so notifications. You will get notified when we come back, because we don't have a date. We know we're coming back in either late August or early September, but you will find out. You'll be one of the first to know when you hit that little bell after you subscribe. So it'll notify you. Your phone will pop up and say, picture this film. Actually, it'll say Studio 29 has published a new video. Everybody have a great summer. Go watch Kick-Ass. It is on HBO Max. And love one another.
Bye.